Hi, this is Kaleah, and today I'm going to talk about getting relationship ready.
Trying to see the world within me. There's no one else looking and turning like there's no tomorrow. Wild awake young pain and sorrow.
So have you thought about getting back out there and getting involved in a relationship again? Have you watched my recent videos on getting back out into online dating or dating at all? But you're feeling a little uncertain about whether you are ready. Well, this video is for you. Anytime that we're not in a relationship, we are getting relationship ready. Because most people want to be in a relationship. Not all the time, but I think that's the goal of most people because we are social creatures. We are naturally mating creatures. We naturally seek our mate. And we're in a very interesting time where there's a lot of cycling and recycling of mates, of potential partners, of partners. In our society, right now there's a lot of cycling and recycling of relationships. And so it's kind of like a revolving door. There's always new people coming in onto the singles market and new people going off the singles market into relationships. Those relationships can burn out in 3 to 5 months. They can be back on the market, so to speak. Ken Sullivan, in his book, The Boomer's Guide to Finding Your True Love Online, talks about the rocket ride, which is that really fast relationship that comes on fast and it burns out fast. I'm pretty much done with that. I don't want to do that one anymore. And I have really learned just from looking at my past relationships and looking at what can I learn from that. That is part of getting relationship ready, is we have to be willing to review the relationships we've been in. If you've come out of a long-term relationship with a narcissist, there's a lot of reviewing that has to go on, and you may need some counseling, a coach, a counselor, a therapist to help you process through it all, because there's a lot that comes up in something like that. But if you go back out on the dating scene and you have these short-term relationships where that person comes on really strong, or you're really eager to get involved in a relationship, so you are also kind of rushing it and getting involved too quickly, then the chances of that relationship working out are pretty slim. Because for us to have a solid lifelong relationship, we need to have a solid foundation. And so we need to be willing to take it slow, to start off as friends, to get to know that person, to take your time getting to know that person, to not allow physical attraction or lust to guide you, to be your guide, to get you moving in this really fast direction. Instead, we have to be solid enough in ourselves to take that step back and go slow. And if that person is coming on really fast and you're like, this is a little fast for me, and you put your hands up, you draw that boundary and say, I need to go slower, and that person isn't respecting the boundary, well, guess what? They're not for you. So that's back to the weeding out. If somebody's in a real hurry to hook you in, hey, that's a sign of narcissistic behavior, right? We don't want that. We don't want that rush. It might feel good at the time, sure. And that addictive part of you may really want that. It might be, you might have come out of a long dry spell and it's like, oh, it really feels good to have that energy in my life again, and I really just want to, get into it deeper. We have to to really be smart, to really be relationship ready, we've got to use our head, not just our libido. We've got to put our libido on hold and say, okay, I get that it's there and it's liking the way this feels, but do I want another short-term rocket ride, or do I want something sustainable, something long-term? I know for myself, I'm looking for something sustainable. And that means that I have to do my work, that I have to be ready, that I have to be willing to take it slow, to get to know people, and to not put all my eggs in one basket. So what I mean by not putting all your eggs in one basket is when you're getting to know people, you're not going to get sexually involved with them right away. That's a no-no when we're trying to go for a long-term relationship. What happens is if you get sexually involved right away, you're going to burn that relationship out right away because you haven't really built that foundation. And so you're just going on these hormones and on this energy of lust. And that love hasn't had time to develop. I no longer believe in love at first sight, because we can see something and we can like how that something looks, or maybe even how that something feels. But it may not have the longevity that we're looking for. There's a lot of wounded people out there. I know you know that. And we ourselves have incurred wounds in our lives. And when you go out onto the dating market, you're going to come up against a lot of people and their wounds, because there's a lot of wounded people who are not doing their work, especially narcissistic people. They do not do the inner work. They do not take the time between relationships to reflect and to learn the lessons. Instead, they just hop in right into that next relationship. So you need to be very, very careful about not allowing those kinds of people in. And you need to take the time to know about that person, to really get to know that person. Because anybody could present well, anybody could present a facade that looks good on the outside. Your job is to be friends long enough to get behind the facade, to get into that facade and to find out, is this person who he or she presents himself or herself to be? And everything you're expecting of somebody else, you have to expect of yourself. So you have to ask yourself that same question. Am I who I present myself to be? Am I going to put myself out there as something that I'm not in order that it will get more attention or respect? Or am I going to get myself to a place where I feel really good about who I am? And also good that I'm, not perfect, except my imperfections, because none of us are perfect. We all have imperfections. So we have to accept our imperfections and know, as we put ourselves out there, that we are putting ourselves out there, warts and all, so to speak, knowing that, as I said in my last video, that person that you're looking for is also looking for you, and that person isn't going to be perfect either. There's no such thing. In fact, what we've learned about narcissism is narcissistic people, they project a perfect image. They project or present themselves as having it all together or being perfect in a lot of ways. But you learn very quickly that that is not who that person is. So it can look really good at first sight. It can look really good in the beginning. And as you go deeper, you realize, no, this person isn't who he said he was or who she said she was. So first and foremost, you have to be who you say you are. And you've got to know yourself. So part of becoming relationship ready is to know yourself. What do I mean when I say know yourself? You've got to be able to do that deep, inner, reflective work. So ask yourself, what are my fears? What are my fears about dating? What am I afraid of? I'm afraid that I'm not going to be liked. I'm afraid that people aren't going to find me attractive. I'm afraid that maybe there is something about me that is flawed to the point where I'm incapable of love or having a great relationship. There's all these different fears that we have that are going to sabotage a relationship that could be a good, solid relationship for you. And if you do your work and you're really honest with yourself about your fears, then you can perhaps see that all they are is fears, that they really don't have a basis in reality. Of course, you're going to do your best to be as attractive as you can for your age. Make sure that you're doing what you can to take care of yourself, but don't expect that you need to be this 10, this perfect model, supermodel beauty to find love. Because you know what? You're more likely to find love not being the supermodel. Supermodels have a hard time with love. They cycle through a lot of relationships. A lot of them do. I don't want to stereotype, but a lot of them do, because they can have anyone they want, because they have this look that by society standards is up here at a 10. And if you're a woman and you're a 10 and you're a supermodel, and there's all these men that have these big egos that think that they need to have a 10 or they deserve to have a 10, they're all seeking these supermodels who recycle through a lot of men, because if one doesn't work out, there's 20 more in the wings or 100 more in the wings. So they don't have to waste their time with narcissists or people that are not right for them. And they themselves may be narcissistic. They may have a sense of superiority, that I can have whoever I want. So the first thing we have to do is assess ourselves honestly, to look at ourselves, look at our age group, be able to look in the mirror and say, you know what? I look pretty good for my age. I'm pretty young for my age. Or whatever it is that you can say about yourself, where you're doing an honest assessment. And remembering that it's not all about looks. And I just have a story to tell that I met this couple. It's been many years ago, but they met online. And I wouldn't even be talking about online if I did not find success stories of people that met online. So there's this couple, and both of them were quite a bit overweight. They were both definitely plus sizes. And they met each other online, and they were so happy, and they got married, and they were traveling together, and they were having a great life. And they didn't have these standards for themselves that I have to be, 125 pounds as a woman or 180 pounds as a man to attract another person. They were both honest with themselves, okay? I'm a plus size. I'm pretty happy with myself. I'm happy with my life. I don't really want to change. I really don't want to lose 80 pounds. I just want to find somebody to share my life with. So two people that have that same mindset find each other. Well, guess what? It's a match. So you don't have to be perfect physically. You don't have to strive to be perfect. A perfect weight, perfect size, perfect shape. Perfect age. There's no such thing, because love comes in all sizes and all shapes. What you need to do is feel good about yourself. And my assessment of this couple, this plus-size couple, is they both felt pretty good about themselves, and they accepted themselves as large people. And that's really beautiful. When we're getting older, we have to be able to accept that we are older people. We can't change that. We're no longer going to have that youth that we once had. So there's a letting go of the past and stepping into who you are now and being able to find someone who's a good match for you now. There's a lot of people that are trying to present themselves as being younger, that are looking for younger people because they haven't done that inner work, they haven't done that introspection, and haven't really accepted themselves as they are. So they are presenting themselves as a lie, someone that they are not, in order to fulfill an egoic fantasy. And those people are online by the droves. They're a dime a dozen. Do you want somebody like that? I would hope your answer is no. You want someone who presents himself or herself honestly. And, you know, I sometimes think it could be even harder for the young people because there's so much competition for these young women, these women that are like in their mid-30s or even mid-40s. But a lot of people that are trying to secure these younger women are these older men that haven't done their work, that haven't done the inner work, that just egoically feel that they're entitled to a younger woman. There's ideas they might have that they're sexier, that they might have more sex more frequently, things like that, which, you know, has been proven pretty much to be a lie. That women in their 50s are sometimes in their sexual prime. They don't have to worry about getting pregnant. There's a lot of, you know, pluses about women in their 50s, even their 60s. Things are not like they used to be. You know how you've heard 50 is the new 35 or 60 is the new 40, or, you know, things have changed to where we actually look better for our age than our parents did or our grandparents did. We're aging slower and we have more youthfulness and vitality. And often, you know, we take better care of ourselves. A lot of us take better care of ourselves. I work really hard in taking care of myself. I eat a plant-based diet, I work out, I do a lot to keep myself at my personal best. And I'm always working on that because I want to be able to feel good about myself. And that is something that's important for all of us, is to be at our best. Whatever that means to you. Your best is not going to be the same as my best. You might be one of those plus-size people that just love your curves, or just love that you can eat whatever you want. You know, it doesn't matter what your best is what your best is. Just be realistic. I had a friend who was quite obese. He was very large. And he was also unhealthy. He had heart problems because he was so large. And he really wanted love really bad. He was really looking for love. And people would make suggestions of these large women for him. And he turned to me one day and he said, Kaleah, I don't want a fat woman. I'm not attracted to fat women. I want a woman like you. And I said to him, then you need to become what you're looking for. You need to lose that weight and get healthy. But he didn't have it in him. He just could not commit to that. And unfortunately, he died of a heart attack and never got to have that love. So we do have to be realistic and be willing to be what we want to attract. Look at the qualities that you're looking for in someone else. If you're looking for someone who is fit, trim, healthy, radiant, glowing, happy, are you those things? Or are you willing to become those things now? Are you willing to work towards that? Are you looking for somebody who is honest, who has integrity, who has ethics and morals similar to you? You might ask yourself, in what ways am I not being honest? In what ways am I lacking in integrity? And most of us have those places that we have to face, some areas that we might need to upgrade, to bring up a bit. And that's okay, because once again, none of us are perfect. But doing that honest self-examination will take you closer to being relationship ready, to honestly evaluate yourself and what qualities you have. So as you make your list of what you're looking for in somebody else, look at that list and ask yourself, do I have these qualities? If it's appropriate, some that are just basically masculine qualities you're not going to be looking for. But if you're emotionally open, you're an emotionally sensitive person, you're not going to do well with somebody that's really shallow, emotionally shallow, or lacking in empathy. So empathy and emotional depth is probably going to be on your list. And of course, some of your list is made by doing an honest assessment of yourself and saying, well, this is who I am, so this is what would be a compliment to me. When empathic people attract narcissistic people into their life, it's complete opposite. It's not a good match at all, because you have somebody that's emotionally deep and sensitive that is with somebody who has no emotional depth and is completely lacking in sensitivity and empathy. It's not a good match. As you start to realize this and do your inner work and understand, you can, in your getting to know each other phase, you can start finding out about that person and realize, wow, this person doesn't go very deep emotionally, or this person's lacking in empathy. You'll learn that about that person if you take the time to get to know somebody, or they will weed you out because you're not going fast enough for them. The narcissists are looking for the rocket ride. They're not looking for, they may say they're looking for long term, but they just don't have that emotional depth and that capacity to look at it from the perspective of, you need to build a foundation, you need to nurture, you need to go slow. They just completely go on how they're feeling in the moment, and on their lust and on their attraction, and they're working to hook in. And so that will likely burn itself out really quickly. And if you have some rules that you place on yourself, such as getting to know somebody over time, taking your time, not getting intimately involved right away, you can weed out the lion's share of narcissistic people. And I've made that mistake myself, where I did get involved too quickly. And what I've learned from it is I don't want to get intimately involved very quickly with somebody. I want to take my time to get to know them. So you've got to really do that work of getting to know that person, getting to know yourself first and foremost. That's what makes you relationship ready, is how well do you know yourself, and how deeply have you asked yourself those important questions like, who am I? And what do I really want? What would really honestly be a good match for me? What kind of person do I want to spend my days with? What is he into? What is he like? What is she like? What is she all about? What is your hobbies? What are your interests? Does that person share a lot of those hobbies and interests? What is your lifestyle? I'm plant-based. I have a plant-based vegan diet and lifestyle. So for me, an ideal person would be someone who shares that lifestyle. As we pare down and we know who we are and what we're looking for, our selection is narrowed. There's not as much to choose from. And that's part of the weeding process. When you're really looking for that person that is more like you, not different from you, not opposite from you, but more like you, you've got to narrow out and weed out everybody that's not like you, that's not going to work, that doesn't have anything really in common with you. And look for those that have similar values, similar lifestyles. I find myself going to dating sites that are more lifestyle and spirituality based sites, where there's more of a chance of meeting people who are matches for my diet, my lifestyle, and my spiritual beliefs. So in summary, you do want to know yourself. Make that list. Look in the mirror. Figure out who you are first. Do the inner work. If you need to do counseling or therapy to get to know yourself, to figure out what your blocks are, to figure out what your fears are, what might be blocking you from having a good relationship, do that first before you even put yourself out there. And when you're ready to put yourself out there, do it honestly. That's all I have to say for today. Thank you for watching. Be sure to like, subscribe, and share. Have a great day, and I'll see you next time.